appeal to whatever work you do, how which even the accolades and commendation from us. Everybody associates is what people experience of the past is, and improving on our today and our future is what we need. Let us ensure that this year we director and management our vision because more thorough and free. Our SOP natively and also if you default. And also let us that so your performance is going to be graded in various ways. The way you attend to your job. So everybody is going to be appraised. Everybody is going to be evaluated based on their performance. And this time around, I've also directed most of the directors that have brought about indiscipline in the commission is because many staff, they are not being, when you default, you now have the SOPs. What is in the rule book? So last year, I believe that you must work for you. You also have to work, streamline activities in the commission. In our various capacities, we are trying to ensure that we become of the commission. Do not be in your individual interaction, especially those of rooms, because of your conduct. Let it be that your association with us, your communication with us, is rather making your life here. Management, the change rates to finance changed, and I believe that is already, and also in that directorate, the whole department, the whole idea is to ensure that at least let us have our own staff that will be trained. Some of them are going to mission in a way the protocol staff, they are going to be career. Those who are going to be HSC staff, they are going to be HSC career staff in the commission. They are not going to be posted to any other directorate. So this is how people staying in a particular department or direct, it was carried out carefully, try to subject so that they request for staff that will add value to what they are doing. In civil, as a staff of NDDC sector, about gaining experience. Our project, we equip the station that all want to in the state responsibility is supposed to be lesser than that because they are supposed to be busy than that because they are supposed to be busy because they are being born independence. So that because they are being born independence. So that press from the state offices because they are being born independence. So that press from the state offices cannot be paid, that are also accrued within that. These are some of the things that we're also putting in place. And to also warn that those of us, if you're being redeployed, go to the place where you have been redeployed. And I've told deployed to, they should be queried immediately. So I want to plead with us. We argue on issues and we ensure that we protect our interests. Because I can assure you, that person, when some of you were in our internal know that guide all of us. So how are we going to be strong as a commission to do? In the past times, issues pertaining to external pressures, that is why your welfare of your demands. So all what we are doing is for our, give us highlights and brief with some of these things, our performance. Because we must consolidate on our Bola Ahmed Tinubu gets into its 3rd year anniversary. We must also showcase what our performance is too within our period. Our bridge contractor has been able to hire more barges to put along the river so that at least the tide that was disturbing their workflow would also be averted. So the work on that project, the beams have been installed across over the middle of the river. So that is very serious achievement within the partnership between NDDC and the NS projects are also completed. Picked some of these abandoned projects that are legacy projects. I believe all of you as staff of NDDC that you go to places solicited for. Before now, see calls to the MD, I believe we are going to be more respected. That is what I stand for, and I believe that is what we all stand for. So I want us to change our faculty of the EDFA, the MD, responsibility that we are bringing. Are we just recurrent expenditure? Can only that you bring things are short-lived, but that which is long-lived, that is going to stamp your signature, are those projects that will stand the test of time. In the past years, NDDC spent so much on water high seas. Said we're not going to do this because we said we are not a matter of policy. We stood by it. But today, in replacing all that, we came up with Operation Light Up the Niger Delta. And I believe what we are doing. That is what I want us to look up to. That is what I want us to be doing. But once we come up with most of these programs, them forward, sure that we as NDDC cannot since through, and at the end of the to so since through, and at the end of the to so which piece it has been successful, which piece it has been successful. But that which is not the responsibility to be embarrassing, that you make a document to go through the entire system, and somebody through the entire system, and somebody is following it up until it gets to the end, and somebody is following it up until it gets to the MD's desk. Starts with this desk. Starts with. We cannot carry it all through. Let it all through. Let other government funds are also, and let other government funds are also. NDDC was not implemented. NDDC was not implemented. Just the way it was not also implementing that. Just the way it was not also implementing that our finances are going to get. Our finances are going to get. We have specific staff of ND. Give us creation. Staff of ND. Give us creation. Our to talk to ourselves. Do the right thing. You compliment. And once we play that compliment, even football is going to be. We have that compatibility to succeed is going to be. We have that compatibility to succeed goals for the year to identify memories of our achievements. Yes, we have achieved a lot, but in achieving a lot, the year 2026
strengthened management cohesion and leadership alignment. 4, actionable resolutions to guide management operations. And 5, a renewed commitment to accountability, coordination, and performance excellence. Closing, the retreat represents a critical opportunity to consolidate our gains, strengthen leadership alignment, and reposition the Commission for strategic impact in 2026. The value of the retreat will ultimately be measured not by discussions held, but by decisions taken and actions implemented thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patterson Ogon, Director, Planning, Research and Statistics, Management Information Systems of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, for giving us the structure and objectives of this retreat. We will now call for tea break. The Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Samuel Oguku, PhD, the EDFA, Alabo Honorable Boma Iyaye, Esquire, DSSRS, and of course, the Executive Director, Corporate Services, Honorable Ifedayo Abegunde, will proceed for tea break, followed by our resource persons, that's the facilitators. The rest of the directors, please remain seated. The protocol officers will come and lead you to the arena for tea break. The MD will lead the EDs and the resource persons first into the space provided for tea break. A tea break is for 15 minutes. Right after, we'll come back for the second session, where we'll have an automation first of all, before we get into the plenary session. MDC OSA, please lead the executives for tea. Our facilitators will join, and then the protocol officers will come and call the directors to go to their respective tables for tea. Thank you very, very much.
Not be able to cover everything, right? So the important time that I cover both the systems and also your reading editor.
My name is Okejuru. I'm from Delta State.
Okay, so tell us about the process.
All right, so the process for the NDDC scholarship was a very thorough one. Started with the CBT, which were tested on a computer-based test, and after that, we went for the interview, and it was a very smooth and thorough process.
So what do you have to tell the NDDC for putting this together?
I want to really appreciate the NDDC for putting this together. Studying abroad has been one of my childhood dreams. I always wanted to study in one of these world-class universities, so I can gain valuable knowledge and be able to impact meaningfully back here in Nigeria. So I want to really appreciate the NDDC for putting this together, and I'm very grateful for being part of the
Not be able to cover everything, right? But for the time, I'm going to call on both assistant please, and also your region editor.
The Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, is the government organization mandated to provide lasting solutions to the socio-economic challenges of the Niger Delta region through the implementation of sustainable human capital development, economic prosperity, social stability, ecological regeneration, peaceful existence, and infrastructure upgrade programs. To actualize the mandate and build a viable future for all people of Niger Delta region, irrespective of their socio-economic status and geographical location, the NDDC has developed a regional master plan that has prioritized health as an enabler towards achieving the expected outcomes. The NDDC, in partnership with Digital eHealth Solutions, the World Health Organization (WHO), and the National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office, has commenced a program to identify poor and vulnerable households through community targeting. Register the members of each identified household into its database, authenticate the database to the national data system, and provide them with access to health care and other social services to ensure no one is left behind. The people of Niger Delta region needs to be healthy to see the benefits of the various solar light projects, move around on the various road projects, benefit from the various education support programs, and participate in various agricultural support activities of the NDDC. The new board and management of the NDDC is fully committed to its mandate and determined to make a difference in the life and experiences of all Niger Deltans.
but a beginning. The true measure of our success will be how well this project serves our people over time. We must remain committed to maintenance, accountability, and continued development across the Niger Delta. Let me say that we are witnessing transformation in NDDC today because of the leadership, the focused leadership we have at the national level, represented by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Each time I meet with him, he will say, "My minister, how is Niger Delta, and particular NDDC?" I say, "Your Excellency, sir, Niger Delta and NDDC is on course."
Coming back to the renewed hope and NDDC transiting from transaction to transformation, I just want to give you a few statistics. Today we are here to commission this ultramodern state office.
the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) celebrates its 25th anniversary, we mark a milestone in our journey to transform the lives of Niger Delta residents. Under the visionary leadership of Chief Samuel Obuku, PhD, the Managing Director of NDDC, we are shifting the narrative from mere transactions to meaningful transformations. A significant milestone in this journey is the commissioning of our Bayelsa State Office, a state-of-the-art edifice located at Opoloepe in the Yenagoa local government area on Tuesday, June 17, 2025. This grand structure symbolizes our commitment to the region's development and our determination to improve the quality of life for our people. At NDDC, we're working tirelessly to preserve the Delta's rich natural resources for future generations while empowering our residents with the tools they need to thrive. This requires collaboration.
What you ask in secretaries to and add, oh my God, I did not warm the soup. Then secretaries to and add, oh my God, I did not warm the soup. Then they and add, oh my God, I did not warm the soup. Then they will continue processing. Then when they give you the paper, if you are the one that just put, when I won't put, I did not remember to warm the soup, they will jump through sponsors in Abuja and issue. Imagine say that in the taxi from the secretariat. I was almost reading my report in the taxi from the secretariat. I was almost reading my report. By the time I got to Lagos, I said, Dada, your report is very fast. By the time I got to Lagos, I said, Dada, your report is very fast. I said, that you have. That's what they can maximize. If you don't have, they cannot maximize it too. Through modifying existing internal processes. Through modifying existing internal processes. Alignment. How do they want of a department later? To learn anything. Destination has come from decades back. Destination has come from decades back. For them, has come from decades back. For them, because this would have so you everybody. So you know, because this would have so you everybody. So you know, and to achieve the best result, you must be able to what continuously appraise in what you service. And I make promises and not bring someone to what do you do? What do you require? Oh, training. About how we relate to them. How do we see them? My is that my this? Let me tell you what my staff will say. An issue must resume at my this. Let me tell you what my staff will say. An issue must resume at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. And we don't make them. It will always remember your birthday back. And we don't make them. It will always remember your birthday back. At least remembering your does get back busy. Next slide, please. Remembering your does get back busy. Next slide, please. Look at them. It means you have done it to leave your from Lagos. Something CL. So I went out of your office when you are not there. Now government office. Whether you are there or not, work must go on. So, guys, you know a relate team. You all know relate. My men training, my men consultancy, and research and publications. But he said we should go and be doing what? And when we came to plenary, my colleagues said, I can't tell. Is that not true? So, the era of, is it physical? I have a daughter. What we do, trying to, and I'm just sending to us, which means you can walk anywhere. Then policy says you can walk anywhere. Then policy, the public service rule says you must come to work and sign. For what? Every day, and you go and check. The public service rule says you must come to work and sign. For what? Every day, and you go and change the rule. Then you're going to have a lot to consolidate for 1979. It did. So 1979. It did. So you have to determine that. Next slide, please. Actually, what? Attempt or your structure, environmental changes. Some you can have control, some not. Sustainability. Which other word is used for that? Legacy. Next slide. How we organizational success and outcomes. It's not necessary technology. If you don't do, next slide. Factor slide.
Factors that influence, I've also mentioned. The kind of change, how do they come? Slowly. Some will just support in Nigeria. We were to go to Burkina Faso for some will just support in Nigeria. We were to go to Burkina Faso for a meeting. There's a meeting. They just say COVID don't come. Come where? Just say COVID don't come. Come where? Because we were looking at the thing. Because we were looking at the thing that comes with going overseas. You know that one. The A-star that doesn't have that comes with going overseas. You know that one. The A-star that doesn't have code. They say A-star code. I don't know. So how do we implement change? Who are available and technical who are available, or you can do what we call frame breaking, or you can do what we call frame breaking. You just disrupt the whole system. You just disrupt the whole system. Lecture during the police. Spoke about the police. I said, what happened? It says in their country, they had very serious issues in Nigeria with their police. They had very serious issues in Nigeria with their police. And they just put. Because already you are paying for security. You are doing so. They started from put. Because already you are paying for security. You are doing so. They started from. Require a lot of resources. Require a lot of resources. Because there will be pressure. Department. Not way. How? That have made our money. And we all feel bad for this thing. Which we normally have. With years in house, no. I'm in trouble. If it's time for you to go. If you don't go, when government needs you, some are going to repay 65 months salaries to government over what they call a museum. They say there used to be one great change using the HR department, for example. You start with what? Communication and engagements. Training. I'm also sharing the committee. There's no. I agree. All of us will not bring the upper form when their promotion interview is next. So now we are moving to KPIs. A secretary. How many? We are not saying it's your fault. Why? But if you have someone like me as a boss, you won't get work to do much as a secretary. You have time to sell your cooker. Next slide, please. So, sustaining reforms means you have to put people first. Listening to what we're saying. Leadership with vision. Clear communication and purpose. A lot of things there. And more importantly, you need to identify champions. Those who can help you spread the gospel from their hearts. And sometimes they may not be those who are up there. They may be middle-level officers. You can see the passion they have for the commission. Tap into that. They are the one they call champions. Next slide, please. Your specific task, responsibility, performance, expectations, and decision-making authority within your organization. In HASCON, a human resource department who are supposed to be doing conflict there. So every department must be very clear where their boundary is. Why is the overall, or they're afraid because of what how their boss treats them. So I'm going to work today again. God, I hope it will be weekend. Next slide. For real clarity to happen, the following must happen. You must have what? Job description, performance standards, clear goals and objectives, reporting structure. When an officer begins to report to 2, 3 different, there's a problem. He's reporting to director. Director is not aware. So you must be very clear who is reporting to who. Then resources and support. They must have access to necessary tools, training, something as simple. Next slide. Create detailed job description. We have explained that. Communicate expectations. So apologies to those from Edo State here. We used to have this our friend in National Assembly. Can you remember him? Everybody will laugh. They haven't finished that. They say, hey, waiting in talk. Waiting in Yan. Store. Chris, Leonard, very good. Meet the expectations. Even the dressing matters. We have that issue in NASCO now. It's why the new set of staff. Can you imagine a faculty staff coming to work on a Monday in jeans? Nothing's wrong. I call this, he does not come to the... Every morning when he's coming, he will start knocking. He's coming to greet you because he likes your face. One, he wants to be sure you are in the office. That he comes to work. I also have a staff. Every week, I'm a Christian, a very good believer. If they are not having powerful crusades, somebody will be... Crusades are always very powerful. I said, that same department, the chief does something. And then you finish. Pray for us all. They are getting, what does it mean for NDDC? From external, it's bureaucracy, which most of the time I see public account committee. That's how tidy your book is. Country, that is true. Part of the pressure. How do you handle it? But somebody will tell you, I remember a former talk to these people overnight. Something has changed. Sometimes it's not that way. Project management for legislatures. Project management in local government, for local governments. And when I was but is it your mandate? Answer is no. Next slide. Excellence become a reality. No man is better than what? Next slide. To achieve a shared goal so that we can achieve what? Our goal. It involves active cooperation, mutual support, and open, because you are all working towards the same goal. Next slide. You promote a keep employee tax 64 and also achieve more. People don't want to lie for this. Go ahead, just put the 5. From forming, when you begin to pick the people, they all have skills, they have knowledge, but they don't understand themselves yet. When they come to storming, they know where we are going to, but everybody has a way they want you to take to get there. Some drank tea. There's Otumokoya. His own way may be, so they agree. They now perform. When they finish the job, everybody is dismantled. Next slide. Is legal, is finance, silos. Everybody is working, right? Finances, communication, reduce. They are not competing. They won't say is. Don't care how you it is demand in finance. You are complementing it. Align it from day one and define what you are. Right. Daddy is this old. How old am I when they give this certificate? Say you are just 12 here. Whose name is written there? They say your name. Was that say you ain't going to school because of me? So they understand. But most of you make the kids feel they go to school. You are not to be preaching. They should have understand why school is important for them. And like I tell you, there's nothing that says you must go to university. It shocks you. I know the trick I do. Once they enter secondary schools, my 3 daughters can do. I don't give 5,000 naira. I say, bring the money. But you all do gele, but you don't want your kids to do gele. They can still go to school, as they call it, Abi. And you must do it. And you have the best of kitchen something. Align the goals. You don't know anything. Mistakes. But how do you draw the attention to the mistakes? The boss I work with, you ask you to write a paper for him. Guess what? By the time what you said about your introduction, do you? Very, very important. That performance in modern organization requires what? A tripod role of departmental alignment. It means you must be clear what you want to do. You must work with yourself. So that you won't put the organization in serious jeopardy. 10 o'clock. Your staff comes in at 10 o'clock. Who has come early? What culture? Even your dressing. It's a culture. You create it to improve performance and productivity. It's the work environment that encourages what? Employees to aim what? As high as they can. You tell them the sky is the limit. You tell a level 10 now, you will soon be director by God's grace because you are doing well. It's what you create. Collaborative. Innovative. They bring you new ideas. You know the civil service, that's how we've been doing it. You can't pray that one. But it's not about sometimes, it's not about technology sometimes, it's about are you able to check your processes, your procedures. Lead effectively. Leaders and managers always take the lead because they are taking a cue from you. When the staff knows that you'll be in the office by 7:30, nobody will tell them the first day they gave you excuse. Second day, third day they won't come. They'll come early. Because they know that they don't mind your guy, whether you want the driver for ourselves, I don't know. It should like work. Don't worry, you are leading by assigning higher responsibilities. You get reward for it. If you do badly, you also get sanctions for it. That's always. Want to strengthen. Set clear goals and expectations. That always disown your staff. We're going to talk about that later. Once anything goes wrong like this, some guys, I didn't ask him to do that. Only God knows. They will not. Even if they fail, don't forget they are part of your team. Together, everybody achieves more. So if everybody also achieves less, you can't run out of it. Model desire behaviors. As a team, take responsibility, ownership for their actions, decisions, and even if you be committed to find out. What are the benefits? Transparency, collaboration, trust, promote collective responsibility. Next slide. Characteristics of accountable organization, ownership of results, owning mistakes. Yes, I made the mistake. I know it's a genuine mistake. owning mistakes, clear expectations, supporting peers. Strategies, lead by example, create psychological safety, empower ownership by not blaming them, but asking the question, what have we learned from this? Every error has a learning point. Are you as the boss able to pick the learning points? You move from blame to solutions. Projects agrees with the executive director. Okay, it's me that did the mistake. Although it wasn't the one. It's very when sir, it is not my staff. It doesn't hear what. Next slide. How do we strengthen definition? What does it mean to be what? Strengthening leadership ownership. Mindset where executive director to the MD. Blame. It involves responsibility for. This is what I want you to take away. Learn to take responsibility for failures when it happens. Don't pass the buck on your staff because you know. Assume responsibility. Support it. If something goes wrong, your staff will ensure what you want again. Long term. Next slide, please. My take. Leadership ownership involves employees feel empowered, invested in outcomes, and take personal responsibility for results, whether it is positive or negative. Wait for your turn. You don't need to tell me now. I know me and I've done this for over 2 decades. Let me tell you what I realized. The way you have needs is the way you want to have sown. But when it comes, you corner. By God's grace, I'm the head. What is the finder's fee for? Hard it to the. We didn't expect this type of money. If I take the money, nothing will happen. But for me, it's a cost. When you swallow what belongs to the staff, it's even better for you to even give them. And bet you want to lose and your staff losing. But when they therefore, accountability and leadership ownership involves creating an environment where high performance is what? If you have done your own, it will be easy for you to expect what? High performance. And then reward. Final slide there, if I'm not wrong. Final word. No. Go back, please. Go back, please. Conclusion. My final word. So, the essence of the whole topic is this. For us to achieve, consolidate, through human capital, change, and team alignment requires what? A whole of what? Organizational approach. I'm sure you've heard of all of government. They need to put in as their own input for us to get there. It's comprehensive, holistic strategy where all parts of identity work together in a coordination. Additions, subtractions, please. Just to in the next 10 minutes, sir. Just to in the next 10 minutes, sir. Pastor, 10 minutes. Syndicate work. So what we just blames, why are we not achieving my boss? Just blames, why are we not achieving my boss, our mentor? Our mentor. Addition, subtraction. Addition, subtraction. Okay, madam. Okay, madam. Do you have a bike there? Do you have a bike there?
Very incisive of a unit. And then a unit. And then to your subordinates in your unit, follow the rules of engagement of the establishment where you have disgruntled staff who are very good everything from the eyes of very negative behavior. What then do you do? Thank you.
In your house, are all your kids the same? Are all our kids the same? Do they have the same character? Don't you do the same thing for all of them in the house? So why are you surprised? You must have deviance. It's part of human nature. It just come in, young man. I was in my 20s when I joined ASCON. He said, young man, I think the paper you gave me is very good. You can write well. There's a conference in Gambia. Can you go and write? I said, look at this man. I've not written for ASCON. Not only me. But I talk about, so you are going to have people who will never, again, for two things. The expectation they have, we are going to talk about expectation tomorrow. Some people only come to join NDDC not because they want to add value to you. They know that the NDDC pay well, the package is well, so they go and to come inside, working for your pocket. You can't stop them. But you and the rest must fear in service to document officers. Talk, appeal, warnings and guidance. Can you explain? It's as simple as they will call you names. It doesn't matter. Can't you explain? You can't detract for me. But before I start with you, I will have given you a very long group. I was like, okay, why are you accepting this one? I said, take it easy. The rule says engage. You keep engaging for a long time. But like you said, some of them are level 8 was send the manager. Okay, the thing where they come out with the sharam. The woman was saying, he said, the staff says, okay, the thing where they come. And when some of them also have this backing of, you see, when they have the backing of the SNR, something in mind was somebody joined MPA of one. He said he wants to go to Dubai. They said, sir, he wants to go shopping with his friend, with our friend, want to get wedded.
Those major points he had highlighted. My duty actually is to break them down and see how we can take them into the work at the workplace. Now we know what those theories are, why they are needed at this time. How we can now begin to consolidate performance, drive them down through the various departments to the units. Because that's when the results begin to show. If you don't take them down, they will just remain ideas, and they will be there. I'm particularly intrigued by what I also heard the MD say earlier on, how the commission is now reacting to performance. So there's a shift, and that shift for me is fundamental. It probably would have come earlier, but it's never too late. When people begin to rely on a system or a process that they just find themselves attached to, we just do it for formality. And then you are moving on to an environment where you can begin to focus on key performance indicators and all that. Then you know that we are beginning to make a difference. So I'm really excited, and I will be saying this. Every support that is needed to make us as a commission succeed in this regard would be able to give as much as we can. But more importantly, when you start to talk about performance, it's what defines an individual. It's not about, I have a job, let me just go through the process, earn my salary. The way an individual shows up in the world, in the environment you live in, this is one of the things that defines you. People will remember you for how you deliver and all of that. It has happened to people like us. After 45 or 44 years of work life, I can tell you that much, that the way you perform will define you. If you don't get the immediate reward, it will eventually come. So let me now talk about how we can operationalize performance, how we can consolidate it at the department and unit level. So I hope we found this. I hope it works. Good, it's working. So I won't be saying, next slide. I'll do this. And it's part of the changes that we are talking about. Okay, so at the end of this session, we'll be able to translate high-level strategic insights into operational, the basics. How does it become real for us? And all of that. For me, also be able to look at our individual roles within that process. Okay, so we can stay here. Why does performance consolidation, why does it matter now? Why does it matter? If you see me, is that consolidation focuses on doing fewer things better. So it's not just running after many things. What are you doing and all of that? So when you begin to have very clear strategies, clear tasks and targets that can be derivable from those ones, that comes into the individual's KPI, then you're actually going to be doing fewer things better. This is not the era of running after too many things. That's why we're talking about consolidation at this time. So I'm going to get you to do an open exercise, just the way you are seated. Because much of what I want to do in this session is to get us to practice some of the things that Dada talked about. So we're already seated along long tables. And you're going to, that table, the people around you on that table, they become your teammates right now. Yeah? I'm going to ask everybody to rise up. Please rise up. Rise up, rise up, rise up. This is what this session is about. Okay, maybe the MD also has his team in front. They're going to be a team. And what I'd like you to do is to get into a standing committee. Please, let's be active in this session. Because this practical session I like to run. We're going to get into a quick discussion. That quick discussion, it will take you 1 minute when you get into that team to reflect. And what am I asking for? What is the single biggest risk to consolidating organizational performance in NDDC this year? In other words, if we want to drive performance from strategy down to the department and the units, what risk? What will be the biggest problem? I expect different results from different tables. And this is where it's going to work very quickly. If you take the table behind this first row, you have about 6 there. You can take any position in this hall. It's a standing committee thing. You have a quick discussion. Because the tables are so long, you can't be talking from one end to the other, so you need to move and form a circle somewhere. So let's form that circle now and begin to have that discussion. Let's move quickly, 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 quickly. I'm going to ask you to do this 2 times. Maybe the management team, you want to get together with the resource team, can we come talk with the management team and, just help them through this process? What risk do you foresee? What risk? What risk? You are going to have only 5 minutes for this discussion, so don't shy away. Just go ahead. Some of you are not even moving. Get into a standing committee, yeah? And just have that quick discussion. It's a quick discussion, quick one. There's going to be a more enduring discussion soon. In consolidating performance, what risk do we foresee? Especially from where we are coming. We talked about culture a while ago, and then you know the environment. What problem can there be? And then there's a second part of that discussion. Once you have identified one risk, don't take 2, just one major risk. Is that risk a human capital risk? Is it a leadership behavior risk? Is it a change matter? Is it an issue around coordination? That I already talked about coordination very deeply. Or is it something around culture and accountability? You must place it under one of those 6 areas. One long table, one risk, and then check the wall. Is that risk a human capital problem? Is it a leadership problem? Is it a change issue? Is it a cross-directorate, coordination, interdepartmental coordination? Or is it a performance and accountability issue? Please be interested in the discussion. Because that's what will tell me that you listened during that first presentation. Be interested in it. We're trying to make a commission a better commission. You must be able to identify what the problem could be if we need to consolidate performance now. I'm sure by now you have identified that risk. But can you place it in any of those categories? Those 5 categories. Is it a human problem? Is it going to be a leadership problem? Is it a change issue? Is it a cultural accountability issue? Or is it just a cross or interdepartmental issue? You should be running up now. Where's the other microphone, Paul? You guys, are you talking there at all? Oh, you're done. Give them the first microphone. Okay. Please, listen. I'd like to begin to hear now from the groups. We don't have too much time. Let's hear from the groups. But please don't copy what people have said. Don't say, oh, they just said what I wanted to say.
Okay.
You'll be number 2. Okay, listen to the first group to report out.
Yeah, in a quest to consolidate, there is going to be a conflict of interest. This entitlement mentality, some directorate may not want to succumb to the idea of others, believing that they are always...
One meeting, please, one meeting. He's making a very strong point, and you need to agree or disagree with what he's saying.
Believing that one function is so peculiar to them that they cannot relinquish it for another.
Okay.
So that entitlement mentality and conflict of interest will definitely arise.
So you're dealing with a cross-directorate issue now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's where you place that issue. Okay, bring the microphone here, this second group, to report. We'll come to you guys. Yeah, quickly. Let's hear this group,
This is group 2.
Okay, Alagwa, just go. Whether it's 2 or 3, just go.
We have identified that the implementation of our standard operating procedures, ensuring that all stakeholders, from the president to the senators, to all the people that have to do business and influence policy in the Niger Delta Development Commission and the Niger Delta, all stakeholders must buy in and adopt our standard operating procedures, which has already been passed by the board. It encapsulates the human capital, leadership behavior, change, sustainability, cross-directorate coordination, and the performance culture and accountability. All the 5 things you highlighted there are all in that document. That as soon as that document has been taken by even the ICPC, EFCC, code of conduct, all that you have just mentioned about those 5 things will just be solved, and even every other thing, that we have seen. That document, we have already developed it, our board has passed it, and I think our Director of Corporate Governance will speak later on it. That one will take care of the political pressure, which is our major problem.
Where you can consolidate performance.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. There are no right or wrong answers, but I'll comment on different groups. Go to that team. A team should be eager to speak. If you have spoken, your prize is to sit down. Oh, you are ready? Okay. I need to move to the other side of the hall so that we're not too... Yes, please, quickly, report out.
Yes, we are looking at adaptation to change.
Oh, okay.
Adaptation to change as a human capital problem.
Wow.
We are looking at moving from analog to digital now in the commission. Yeah. But a lot of people, instead of preparing their minds and saying, oh, how am I going to flow along with what is coming?
Yeah.
A lot of people are scared. Oh, I'm not going to be writing again. I'm not going to be carrying files here and there. It is a problem. But to me,
if you are ready to walk towards that direction and prepare your mind towards it, even in our own system, we are all encouraged to upgrade ourselves. And trainees will also come for us to adjust to the new method. True. But a lot of people will still be resistant. You know, in those days, when some people will keep files, hide the file, there's no opportunity for that anymore. Yeah. So you are going to adjust every of your functional activities towards aligning with the new arrangement that the system is bringing. So that is our own.
Okay, so for me, it sounds more like a cultural change that is coming. It's a big culture. Okay, let's just take this group before we move to the other end of the hall. But please, if you are a reporter, just sit down quietly while we listen to others with respect. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Collins.
Yeah.
For us, we identified the resistance to change from internal stakeholders. That this change processes, this management, human capital development, and everything we're doing is going to expose a number of staff incompetencies and inadequacies. So that fear of exposure of incompetencies and inadequacies will make staff want to resist all of these changes we are bringing about, this transformation that we're bringing about. But how do we solve that? We can solve that, this resistance and to change by an effective communication of the vision, a clarity, a clear vision that will set out to say this is what the Commission wants to achieve with this transformation agenda. And thereafter, we begin to develop training models to ensure that we make up for those inadequacies or those competency gaps, to ensure that this staff and allay their fears, that they have nothing to fear. Okay. Rather, let them look at the bigger picture, that at the end of the day, it is a win-win situation for both the staff and for the Commission.
Thank you.
And yes, thank you.
What I'm excited about is that we are able to identify the risk, involved in this transition. Let's move to the other side of the hall. Paul, move quickly with the microphone. I will take the management team the last. Okay, we have 4 groups here. Quickly, let's start with the group in front.
Thanks so much. We've looked at the question you asked. For us, we felt the most important challenge will be having a shared value. So in course of achieving that, there will be some level of alignment with all the thoughts. So once that is achieved, the next challenge we normally could have is the allocation of resources to achieve that value, that goal within a determined frame. Because if we don't have a time frame for certain goals, at the end of the day, the goals becomes obsolete. So once those areas are ascertained, then I think we are going to make a better progress.
Okay. It's very clear. Thank you very much. Next group, please sit down. At least clap for yourself if they are not clapping for what they read. Yes, who is reporting for that group?
Our group, we consider leadership at all levels. Most of the management directors, after meeting, it's expected that they cascade the whole information down to the bottom so that they will align with the policy plans of the management. You see the gap. And the calling meeting is to bring everybody together. Another one is culture. The essence of this transfer we are having now in NDDC is to blend Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, anywhere, into all the states, so that the language barrier will not be there, so that there will be synergy, there will be understanding of the flow. If these things are lacking, there will be a problem. Even no matter what we decided to do, because of that cultural attitude, it's highly nepotic and it will not work well. Thank you.
Okay, so you see nepotism as a risk, but you see an alignment as a way out. Exactly. Thank you very much. The next group, let's do this quickly. I have a few things to say to you before you do your bigger exercise.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Yeah. Our group identified a number of risks to consolidating organizational performance. Yeah. but we...
Can you focus on one?
Yeah, we identified human capital as the greatest risk, especially at this time in which we are transitioning from analog to digital way of doing things. We discovered people have to be vested in what they're doing. They have to be acquainted with the new technologies, have to be acquainted with the new way of doing things. And one way of doing that is to get people trained to be able to do these things in the way we want it done. Okay. So identifying needs, getting round pegs and putting them in round holes and giving people the needs and training they need to do, cope with the job, which is a form of human capital development, we think is the greatest risk.
Okay. I think
the risk in consolidating organizational performance in 2026.
Thank you.
That's what we identified.
I think you made the point very clearly. Thanks. The last group, please.
Thank you. Our group, we identified the leadership behavior as the most critical risk. Ideally, it is the leader that coordinates all those factors we're talking about. And I feel 70% of behavioral risk, organizational risk, falls on the leader. And if the leader is that kind of leader that has ego, he does not want to take advice or observation from the subordinate, then how do the organization achieve its organizational goals? In order not for me to go further, it is quite clear that the leader who coordinates, controls, organizes, and puts in place the overall departmental goals that will fall in line with the overall, with the commission's goal, lies solely on the leader. Even though it will take advice or ideas from his subordinates, it is left for the leader to be able to convince management to what extent he has met organizational goal. So I think that is the greatest risk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very, very clear. So the management team, Steve will be reporting. Take the microphone over here.
Thank you. We had the privilege of having a conversation with the executives, the MD and the EDs, and very insightful. There are three main areas of risk identified by the MD and the executives. First one is the issue of strategic focus, ensuring that you maintain clear focus on your objectives. So, of course, that's the reason why you need planning, so you can use the plan to drive you. Second one is the issue of leadership. In fact, in the conversation, we had a very nice quote. When leadership fails, the human factor prevails. All right? We can attribute this quote to the MD. I've not heard this anywhere else. When leadership fails, the human factor prevails.
Yeah.
So what we need to do at the leadership level is to use organizational management to constrain the human factor, which is the third component of this. So it's strategic focus, leadership, and operational management to ensure that people are doing what they need to do, and you have performance measures, you have sanctions and reward mechanisms to motivate them and get what we want.
Yeah, that sounds more like the summary of the issue for me, because it was people, it was attitude, it was a response to change, and then I'm excited that the management team already recognized what their role would be in ensuring that people respond to the changes that we are pushing. Thank you very much. You're going to do a bigger exercise, but let me just share a few more thoughts. How we will translate from strategy into operational reality. The key questions the departments and units must answer. What does the strategy require us to do differently? So I've seen the NDDC strategy bandied around. These are 4 main focus areas. But within your small team, your department, have you ever sat together to say, what change is required of us? What are we doing now that we need to stop doing? What does that strategy, what is it saying to you? What does it require of you to do differently, number one? Number two, which activities must stop, start, or improve?
simple questions. But if you're able to answer these ones, then you are now moving into the transformation lane. You are actually announcing your support for that move that the commission is beginning to make. How do our KPIs really support any of these strategic goals? I know we need to do some more work there. People don't always understand this KPI thing, especially when they are coming into it newly. They say, what's this? How does this translate, the strategy translate to my own deliverable, your task and target, and all of that? But I guess the commission has a broad sense of what we need to do step by step to get people there. Who is accountable for delivery? And that's the bottom line of all of this jargon. Who is accountable for delivery? And if I want to reframe that, what am I accountable for? So accountability is huge in this journey. So it's not enough to say, oh, we know our strategies. I know my KPIs. Is the delivery. That's the bottom line. That's why we are changing. That's why we need to start talking about what we are talking about. That's why we're in Owerri. How do we deliver differently? And how do we deliver good results? Not just delivering activities. Yeah? We have to ensure that we move from strategy to execution. And it's a process. It's step-by-step thing. But keep those two things in mind. If there's a strategy, there has to be execution. Leadership, ownership. Not just at the directors and MD level. We're talking about, the executive directors level. We are talking about leadership ownership. So you are a director in that department, in that unit. You need to have a sense of ownership and know that you need to be able to coordinate just not the activities, only the activities of your department, but like Dada said earlier, be able to relate with what other people are doing with a view to delivering what the organization expects of all of us. Very important. What does this really mean? It actually means translating strategy into daily actions. You know those big things they talk about? These are the strategies. It must come to what you're doing on a daily basis. Clear roles, the processes, and the performance expectations. But we must be able to measure your output at every level. So we are moving from a level now where we should be going to where actual measurements must take place. So when we talk about KPIs, it's down to that brass. What have you done? You were expected to carry 20 bags of cement from one point to another, just using that as an example. And then you have struggled all the year, just succeeding in carrying 9. Those are clear measurements. So when we set our tasks and targets going forward, they should be very clear. They should be smart, as we say. And then the key thing about being smart is that they must be measurable. And the people in the room here are the people who will drive this. You are the directors. You will have that conversation, what we call the performance conversation. You will also have the feedback sessions with your staff. And when you agree with them and sign off and say, this is what the commission expects of you in this year, those things must be measurable so that people are clear about what is expected of them and the results that the commission is expecting. Just to remind us that strategy succeeds or fails at the operational level. No matter how beautiful it is, it's well crafted. I spent most of my year actually doing strategy. I came from another strategy session to be here. It's strategy for me all of the year, But I keep saying to my audience, whatever we get out of here is good. We're going to have those bullet points. These are our key strategies for this year. But if we are not able to deliver, execute, then it's a waste as well. So, departments must now know that those your key activities, they must have a plan to drive them. When we say plan, when will they be done? Who will do them? What results are we expecting? So you must build plans around your priorities going forward. And then the units, everyone must be ready to execute, track, and deliver the results, like we have said before. So focus areas for me, for performance consolidation, you've are the points around this, and I've actually chosen 5 to emphasize. First is the human capital alignment, and that came out very clearly in all your that discussion. It's key. For this commission, it's a very key one. I've been around the fringe of this commission for some years, so I know that's a key point, and that's why I put it right at the top. That is very, very key. Again, the reports from the last group there and the executive directors group was again emphatic on that. Change, that has been on since we got here. Change management, how we manage change is going to be key. Future of work readiness, that already told us what future of work looks like. I think I have one slide I will use to I want to leave that in your mind. Future of work. So we are not going to be taking off on this journey with this commission like, okay, this is where we are, so we have to start from where we are. No. The world of work has moved. So you are going to speed up your takeoff point to align with the world of work where we are now and align to the future of work readiness. And all of that teamwork, I can't emphasize that enough. And then the performance culture and leadership ownership. Now, I made those two there because somehow I sensed that I was going to hear so much about that. So when I began to hear about, culture, accountability, what leaders have to do from the top, to the bottom, I knew that it's... so take note of those 5 areas. Let it be the areas of concern for us, of interest for us as we move forward. I think I've skipped. How do we align human capital at the operational level? Right people in the right roles. One group said that. But I take consolation from what I heard the NDDC say earlier today. It says, it's not wickedness. If we ask you to move to any place, just go. It's in the interest of the organization. And think of how to make the best of that new role that we're taking you to. And then he talked about, new departments where the people need to be trained from the beginning. Because NDDC needs to now have their own professionals. Yeah. Using HSC, for example. So people are not just going to be strolling into HSC now. They should come into HSC prepared to be trained in that area and all of that. So it's key. So skills will be aligned to current priorities. But beyond that, new skills will need to be developed. That's the way we can sustain the achievements that we're beginning to make. New skills will have to be developed. In a time when we're working, we're always very excited about going into new skill areas. But these days, I see that people are so comfortable where they want to be. And in our own time, we used to say, I don't know which of these is going to speak for us, to speak for me. And we were adventurous in developing new skills. Well, go for it. Go for it. At some point, you get a conviction that this is where you want to consolidate and specialize. Reduce role overlap and duplication. I think that will come when we look at the way we organize, and that's what's going on in the commission right now. People are moving, new departments are showing up, new organizations, but some alignment still needs to happen in that regard. Oh, I skipped one. Okay, let me talk about future of work. I did promise I was going to talk about that. I've heard automation since I got here. Even before I got here, automation. I can't wait, to be honest. For the good of NDDC, I can't wait to see full automation. But I'd like us to know that automation also has a history. It has a process. Let's not start to automate where people are over-automated. There's a wall like that, and they have gone fully digital. The key to automation is digital tools in the world of work today. Digital tools that move the work and all of that. So if we are still in that project phase, it's time to start looking at the concept again, look at what is going to deliver. Why am I sounding these notes? I've been called into some organizations in the past who went through a process like this, only to see that the results they were expecting were not being delivered. And we found that such technology that had happened were addressing issues that were no longer relevant to the present needs. So I trust that we are working hard on that because many of us are expectant. Agile and flexible ways of working, focus on productivity, not presence. And this is a very strong thing to say about a public entity. up to now, maybe it's the presence of the people. And I know we've talked about just being there, and everybody knows that you are there. No, but it's on what you're able to produce, not your presence anymore. On change management, I wasn't surprised when we started talking about resistance to change. And by the grace of God, I've been in the classroom with NDDC staff. I know that this is a big call. It's a big call. But you are directors. Help yourselves before you can help others. So you should actually be a step ahead. You must open your mind to change. Change is here. There's nothing you can do about it. So the comment that group was making should be for your subordinates and not for you. Anyone in this group by now, you should have embraced change by now and know that, well, there's nothing you can do running away from it. So that's what I would say. And we need to be a step ahead of the rest of the organization. We become the change agents that will pull everybody along and say, this is inevitable. So this thing has a mind of its own. Sometimes you just click. Let me target. So I was going to talk about the leadership behavior that is needed to make this happen. Effective consolidation will depend on leaders. This is not me. This is not from here. Someone has triggered this thing to start from the beginning. Okay. Next. Okay, so this is good. So people at the level where we are now, I said it when I was standing down there. We need to start leading performance conversations and feedback sessions. And we need to now own accountability and not delegate it. We need to be, let me speak to you about this. We need to be directors who will take responsibility even when it fails, when it's not working the way we had expected it to work. But we'll have a foresight, we'll have the courage to say, well, it's not worked the way we wanted it, but I can assure you, we need directors that will not push their team members forward and say, hey, I didn't even know what they were doing. I didn't know how they got here. You know, that's very common in the public setting, you know. But being able to take responsibility along with your team for the successes as well as for the failures that will come. That's very important, yeah. Let's not delegate. You can't delegate accountability. When it's time for you to show up, you must show up. And that's what you get paid for as a director. You must say, I'm in charge. Every director should go back from this retreat, taking charge of their units and their departments, and then pushing for good results. So we were here, and I was saying that there are leadership behaviors that are now needed. You have to demonstrate clarity of direction, number one. We hold your team accountable for outcomes, not just activities. We said it earlier. We would also want to encourage collaboration across boundaries. Be vulnerable, be open. It doesn't hurt you. It's about organizational performance, not about you. So share information as much as you can for the good of the organization. Don't hoard information. Don't run away from, allowing people to take some glory for work you do together. Just be open. And I'm hoping that when leadership begins to really, really reward people according to delivery, all of those things that we do when we play up to the gallery, the type that I was describing, run to Oga, you want to be in the face of the Oga, all of that will just die down. Because they will see through all of those behaviors. And like I said at the beginning, the way you perform defines who you are. Always remember that. Actively remove operational bottlenecks, model discipline, and follow through. That's the work of leaders. They follow through until results are achieved. See? Okay, so the leadership shift that's required is to move us from directive leadership to enabling leadership, silo thinking to enterprise thinking, We've said this in different languages this afternoon. Firefighting to planned execution, and then individual wins to organizational impact. The last one is very important. Everybody wants to win. That's been the culture, the spirit of NDDC. But by the time we begin to look at organizational impact, we'll do some exercise tomorrow to just bring that to bear. Then you know that change will be envisaging as taking a root. And that's where we want to go. Okay, so I'll just run through this because that dealt with this. What we are saying is that even within the smallest unit, let's know who is doing what, who owns what, who's accountable for what. So there should be role definitions for every job. So everybody comes into a role, you know what is expected of you. Simple. Every department, there's a lot of overlap between departments in NDDC. So it's time to redefine those roles. I didn't want to be there. Now, one word on performance culture. The culture of not being a performing organization or a performing individual doesn't die overnight. It doesn't. We can't just sit in Owerri and say, yes, we've established a new performance culture in NDDC. It doesn't work like that. It's a hearts and mind thing. People have to first embrace, the duty of ensuring that performance happens. And the first one is that we set our targets clearly. We know what the performance indicators are. The second one is, as directors and as leaders, we do regular check-ins, which is your feedback session, performance discussions, and what have you. The third one, and this for me, again to emphasize what the MD said, and I know he was taking it step by step, and he said, don't be scared now to issue queries. Yeah? Don't be scared. And Dada came and said, if you don't do it, you might find yourself on the firing line. I think we should be ready to apply consequent management. There should be reward for good performance recognition. In the same vein, when people are not doing well, I don't have details of what the performance management system will look like, but it should be inbuilt in the performance management system so that people, when there's need to apply consequences, we should not be afraid. Let me say this to you. When you say you are a leader takes tough decisions. A leader will stand and defend his position when it's right. A leader should be able to make decisions. You cannot be ambivalent, as we were. I like the question that my sister asked when Dada was here. And Dada talked about reading the book, Managing Your Boss. Let me add one thing you could do. Attend the training, Managing Difficult People and Conversations. That's a powerful training any day, anytime. As leaders, at the level where you are now, as part of your leadership development training, you should sit down and attend the course on Managing Difficult People and Conversations. Because if that is still an issue at the level where you are now, you need to do quickly to attend that. I don't know how that will work here, but it's highly recommended. So what will success look like at our various departments and units? The people are aligned to priorities of the organization, so people are moving along the path of strategy. Faster execution and decision making, because now directors are not afraid to sit with members of their team to discuss issues and say, can we brainstorm on this? Okay, so this is what we agree. Okay, you put that together. This is what we are going to pass on to management. This is what will be implemented. And we all take the glory. There's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. Absolutely nothing. In the environment where I grew up in the oil and gas sector, it was a thing of pride to come to management meeting and say, and everybody says, Collins, this is your team. You guys, you've come up with a big solution and all that. And I said, well, I got one of our youngest member of staff to lead this project. He should be the one getting the accolades. It didn't mean anything to me. As a matter of fact, I got more reward because it was interpreted to mean that I was coaching and mentoring my team members, and I was giving them the opportunity to grow. So when the reward came, we put the guy up on the stage, and everybody say, hey, you led this discussion, this project are embedded in daily operations. Now, when we are doing this, putting this together that you want to give them, or the weightings that you want to give them. So I'm looking forward to seeing what your PMS looks like, performance management system. Next group.
All existing protocols observed. My name is Wilson S.A. Mokumo. I'm to discuss why is accountability framework important at this time in the Commission. First and foremost, we all know that the civil service system has moved from the HAPA to performance management, and NDDC should not be an exception. And at the same time, the Commission is moving higher from a normal transactional system to a more organized way of doing things. And what is accountability? Succinctly put, accountability is just taking responsibility of your work. And how do we accountable? When we take performance management into consideration, in performance management, you must take KPIs into consideration for you to be able to assess the level of performance of your subordinates. And by doing so, you are really making the
capacity gaps. I want to observe commission facility management and maintenance. We have some good state complex now, even the headquarters. We don't have proper facility team. Like in some state office, you have only one facility manager. And to continue to keep this facility in good shape at all time, I think we should have a team, maybe under a unit, they will call a unit that will have team that understudies the functions and maintenance of this, our facility.
Thank you. A point is made. The thing about automation, when you begin to automate your processes, you have less need for people. So I also wanted to start thinking in that right. Yes, come to number 2. I'm happy that you guys made this session very easy for me. But if you're here by 9 o'clock tomorrow, I'll tell you what to come with.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Ajunwa Daniel. I want to interrogate on number 2, where leaders overloaded, and I liken it to demand and supply. For instance, our MD, as it stands, there are so many demands coming outside, both political demands on projects, both community demands on citing one thing for them. It's overloaded. It's also applicable to those of us in the States. It's overloaded. You see them coming on daily basis, coming with their request, asking for one thing or the other to be part of them in their own communities and in their own areas. It is this situation I liken number 2 to that leaders overloaded from external factor more than even internal. The expression we had, the response came from internal. They were unable to take this in outside NDDC. Overloading leaders always come from outside. And if we can manage it, like as we have the procurement policy, that for them to have this, they must have a process. And that process have outlined requirement, prerequisite, which may be difficult for them to pass through. And we must, as a leader as well, review all these requests. Not every request will be minuted to MD. That is double overloading. We must read it, look at the impact analysis. What advantage do we have on this? What will NDDC get? Not only whatever is putting on paper in the state will say, okay, minute to MD. What are the resources? There are so many things to consider before minuting any request, because the requests are so many. Thank you so much.
Okay, I agree with you totally. Just that when you take that position, be a very strong leader, so that when you're also called to defend why you didn't put forward certain requests that came to your attention, you can marshal. That's what leaders do, really. You can say, I didn't allow this get to you because of these reasons. On this note, I want to thank you. You made this session very easy and interactive. And like I said, we were not out to answer all the questions. We wanted to hear them, and we heard them. And the leadership has sat through this session. They've listened attentively, and they're taking their own notes. On this note, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I've enjoyed working with you today. Tomorrow we'll have another time together. God bless you.
And God bless you too. Thank you so much, Dr. Collins Edebiri, for practicalizing the plenary presentation by Dada Joseph Olugbenga. You merged theory and practice, and then you brought your wealth of experience. You truly took a deep dive into the core of the conversation. We're going to break for a photo session briefly before we do the very last session. Thank you once again. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Edebiri. Thank you. Thank you. We'll have the MD, the EDFA, the EDCS, and our resource persons, first of all. And then we'll have the management committee with them. And the next one will be all the directors. In that order, please. Our resource persons will join the MDCO, the EDFA, and the EDCS for this picture. Indeed, the interactive sessions were not just apt, but critical and necessary, and they will form part of the resolutions that will come from this 2026 NDDC Management Retreat. Once again, I respectfully invite the MD CEO, the Executive Director of Finance and Administration, and of course the Executive Director of Corporate Services, as well as our facilitators, our resource persons, to join in this photograph. I spotted Dr. George Uzowane. Please join. You are a resource person. The next set will be the Management Committee. They will join the MD CEO and the Executive Directors for this. I'd like to invite the Management Committee to join in this picture. Management Committee of the NDDC, please. Please, resource persons, please remain seated. Please remain seated. Thank you. Management Committee of the NDDC, please join the MD CEO, the EDs, and our resource persons, please. Let's balance the stage as much as we can so it doesn't tilt to one side. While the MD, EDs, resource persons, and management committee are still here, may I now respectfully ask the other directors to please join the picture. Thank you very much. Thank you. We can come on stage. Some people can come on stage. The staircase is just by my right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It wasn't just for the photo session, but for us to also get up and do a little exercise because we have been sitting for quite some time. So if we can take back our seats, we have one more session before we close for the day. The third session is a special governance presentation. And so if we can quickly settle back into our seats. I'd like to invite on stage Anele Stephen Nzelo. Thank you very much. For this third special governance presentation, we have with us Anele Stephen Nzelo, who is a lawyer and administrator. He was the director in the Administration and Human Resources Directorate of the NDDC. But with deliberate and improved organizational paradigm shift, the Department of Corporate Governance was created to properly position the Commission in line with the recommendations of KPMG. He was responsible for enlightening staff regarding housing schemes provided by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and played an advisory role on same as well as others. His focus areas for today are overview of NDDC standard operating procedures, SOP as tools for accountability, transparency, and efficiency, SOP compliance as a performance consolidation mechanism, and board and management roles in enforcing institutional discipline. MDCEO, executive directors, ladies and gentlemen, on strengthening governance and performance discipline through SOP. Please welcome Barrister Stephen Nzelo.
MD CEO, our own EDFA, and our EDCS, fellow directors and colleagues, our dear resource persons who have spoken very eloquently and enlightened us. Thank you, the conference organizing committee, for retreat organizers, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to make this presentation. I want to say that our NDCEO in his earlier speech and my president, the president of MCDI, have preempted the content of my presentation. I'm also aware that we have all been sitting for a very long time, and thankfully, my presentation is not and won't be long. I also know that what I am to present today is us, our life, our experiences. There is nothing strange. The things we did together. Almost every directorate here has already reviewed their SOPs and owned it up. So it is your work and your efforts that we are to present today for the benefits of all. So thank you for listening. Let me have the first slide, please. So the topic today is strengthening governance and performance discipline through standard operating procedure. Strengthening governance and performance discipline through standard operating procedure. Next slide. Now, we have a brief history of our evolution as a commission till now. And you see, from 2006, NDDC was established. The commission has evolved through different and many management committees. Fortunately or unfortunately, they brought their own personality-based approach to leadership. Their practices and leadership styles towards achieving the mandate of NDDC were peculiar, usually charismatic. But whatever their approach was, the mandate of NDDC remained the same: to facilitate the rapid and sustainable development of the Niger Delta into a region that is prosperous socially, stable and ecologically regenerative, and politically peaceful. This leadership style provided quick, decisive actions, which were largely undocumented, leading to lack of auditable precedents to rely on in order to improve due process and limit the risk associated with administration and management of certain affairs. So, this personal leadership approach created a situation of uncertainty. Discretion and indiscipline was pervasive in the system, leading to staff misconduct, while management focus was in project awards and project delivery. So our focus before this time has been in project delivery, not on building the systems. Next slide. So while we counted the number of projects completed, there was little attention to the institution itself, the processes and procedures that were applied necessary to getting this project built, or measuring the transactional cost of delivering that project. For instance, we write reports and write memos, but then nobody asks, for this one memo that was written, how many reams of papers were involved in writing this memo? What are the other transactional costs? And we don't have this because there is no measurement or parameters to measure that. So, the ultimate result of this situation was a weak, or is a weak organization. Staff that have personalized public office and seem above the law. And a situation, a population of the, a manipulation of the organization with external interference in the day-to-day administrative issues, inconsistent performance outcomes, and constant fear for the future of the commission. So, we have lived in the fear of whether the commission will state it tomorrow or not, because there are no systems. Every regime that comes, every person that comes into office wants to do and gather as much as he will gather, because he knows that there is no system and that the system may not survive, for long. Despite the above situation, the commission has indeed delivered critical interventions. That is true. We have delivered. We have performed. We have achieved several milestones over the years. But as our MD CEO has noted, as we celebrate our first milestone, we are mindful to review our journey and refuel for the future. Because our deliberate effort to create the Niger Delta of the future must of necessity require a different approach and strategy. Next slide. Yes, we've been focused on delivering projects, and that was wonderful. We are called to develop the Niger Delta. And over the years, that's what we've been doing, and counting projects. But then, after 25 years, should we continue in this trajectory, or should we apply a different strategy in this competitive stage of our life? Yes, the point here is that strong leadership is good. A strong institution is better, as it ensures that progress does not end with leadership, and also guarantees a situation where organizations create and enforce objective rules, checks and balances that reduce reliance on a single leader's whims and tribal knowledge, provide efficiency by institutionalized processes that reduce waste, corruption, and external interference, which distort public policy and twist the arms of management. Now, the most critical factor in a system like ours, in any organization, is the human resources. Where management cannot take decisions, objective decisions, and they stand. Because staffs contract externals to control the direction of organizational policy, it's, to say the least, sabotaging the system. And no system can operate like that. However, the choice is not between strong leadership and strong institution. A strong leadership is necessary to build a strong institution, for sustainable development. It is in this regard that the present management is different, with its strategic focus on going beyond transactional leadership styles to focusing on transformational engagement, emphasizing results, sustainability, value delivery, and establishing strong institutional frameworks for implementing the financial and performance disciplines required to facilitate transformation. Now, it is why all of us are excited. Before now, we had thought that Timi Alaibe, who incidentally gave me this job, was the best we could have. We have sung his praise before now. But now, we have seen, and it is not, all of us know. The present management cut out a different strategy that is drastically different from the strategies of the past. And that is by focusing on building institutions. It is institutions that build projects. And when those institutions are not built, there won't be any sustainable result. Like we have had before, when strong leaders come to office, they make decisive decisions, make decisions on the spot. But because there is no process, no objective process that will guide future performance, when they leave, the system collapses. Somebody was presenting last time, and he talked about the period of interregnum when we didn't have board. Yes, but the absence of board was not the main reason why things went south. It was the absence of processes and systems. If we had a viable system, a viable processes and structures, then it wouldn't matter whether there is a leader, a board or not. The system can still run. The system can still run very successfully. Now, the institutional foundations are numerous, but the core and fundamental are the board, the development of board governance frameworks and the standard operating procedure to guide and direct performance and operations and management at the operational level. When a deputy was talking here, he said that performance execution is at the unit level, the operational level. It doesn't matter how good the up there is. But if we do not bring it down to the day-to-day tasks of doing things, then nothing will happen. Nothing, no sustainable development will occur. And that is why we are talking about the SOP today. Next slide. Now, as a corporation, a business organization is a juristic person in law with rights and obligations. Now, but the NDDC as a business entity does not have a mind of its own. It is the management committee, the executive and non-executive directors that are the directing minds of the commission. Every act of NDDC is the act of the management committee, of the management staffs of the commission. When the commission is said to be doing well, it's because the directors are doing well. And when NDDC is not doing well, it's because the directors are not doing well, because they are the directing minds of the commission. The performance, therefore, of the commission is the performance of its directors. So simply put, governance means how the directors of an organization direct and control the affairs of the organization. Governance defines what should be done and why. The framework for rules, establishing the framework for rules, practices and procedures that guide how the organization is controlled. That is what governance is all about. The framework for rules, the objective performance standards that are set before time to direct the organization. Today, all of us, many people are already afraid and say, what will happen when this present management leaves? But then, with what we are doing, and if they consolidate on it, perfect it, then whoever comes will step into a structured, systematized, objective system that can help to check their excesses. And so, Effective governance is therefore the backbone of any successful organization. Without an effective governance, the organization performs below standard and expectation, bogged down with inefficiencies and external interference. Now, we've been talking about external interference, but the bulk of this external interference boils down to the fact that before now, we do not have very well institutionalized standards, rules, that we can tell to any person and say, look at what our rule says. We can't go beyond this. We fully talked about the issue of employment. If we, for instance, have what we call our manpower planning, which talks about the number of employees needed in this organization, head of service will sign out on it and will know that, look, we need 2,000 staff and not more. And that is signed and sealed. Every employment will not go beyond that. So when any person sends off a list to employ, we would simply present it to the person. Yes, if the person is powerful enough to secure the process of altering that employment plan, then we can go forward. But until that happens, we can't take the risk. But where we do not have that, it is now difficult for any person to tell us what to do or what not to do. Next slide. Core elements of a strong corporate governance. Please, can you do this? Number one is clear line of authority and roles, as we are talking about. For us to have, a strong institution, and have strong corporate governance, we must have clear lines of roles and lines of authority. And that's why where our organogram is very key and sticking to it. We have discovered that over the years, we have distorted our organogram. The reporting lines are not clear, as the first presenter was saying, where one person has to report to several persons. Accountability becomes very difficult. So, but for us to have, a strong corporate governance, we must have clear lines of authority and clear roles. We must have a robust risk management framework. We must have a strong governance, a set of objective rules that guides behavior and everything we do. And I think that is where we are now, where we have to develop rules and upon rules, standard upon standards. This becomes our reference point. This becomes our guiding post from which no one can deviate. And when someone wants to deviate, you have something to draw the person back and say, no, you can't go beyond here. But where there are no rules, then discretion is what will govern. Then we have ethical leadership. Yes, governance. And we're trying to make things work, help make things work. You cannot also begin to present things like this that you cannot justify and things like that. Now, I have said that, and it didn't leave the room, but it has registered something in the mind of the staffs. So we need strong leadership that will model what we preach. Right now, we are talking of performance, we are talking of governance. It is us here, and not the people that are not here, that will be the champions of this governance. So far, it is only the executive management that are the champions of this governance issue. But every director, every management staff is supposed to be, a fan, a champion of this move to ensure that our children, our wives, our grandchildren, and others can come and work here, as we have worked. Then, continuous monitoring and evaluation. There can't be a good governance where we do not have an entrenched system of continuous monitoring and evaluation. For instance, we did this program last year, we did previous years. Before planning this program, did we revisit the report of management retreat last year to find out whether there are things there that can inform what we are doing today? Often we finish a program, finish a project, and it ends there. Sometimes we do not have reports. When we have reports, the reports may not contain any empowering information. But for a strong governance, for a strong and good institution, monitoring and evaluation is as important as the programs and projects themselves. Because that's from where we have learning points of where we didn't get it well, what we should improve upon, and what next, to be done. Next slide. Now we have clear characteristics of a well-defined governed organization. Characteristics of a well-governed organization. If we have some of these things here, all of it and more, we will have a well-governed organization. And that is clear accountability and defined roles. Copious objective rules and policies that govern critical issues. Effective risk management and compliance procedures. Transparent reporting and communication. Continuous oversight and performance evaluation, among others. We say here that strengthening governance, therefore, means enhancing the above factors. If we are able to enhance, strengthen these points here, we are going to have a strong governance, a strong organization that will ensure stable and sustainable performance. Next slide. The standard operating procedure itself. The standard operating procedure, on the other hand, defines how, by whom, and when tax is to be performed. Just now, we are talking about accountability matrix. For those of the directorate that have, reviewed their SOP, you know that the accountability matrix is key in the SOP because there are roles, not just making roles clear, but who is responsible for each role? Responsible. Who is to be consulted? Who is to be informed? And who is ultimately accountable for that tax? That's what we are talking about here. So, it is the specific repeatable steps to execute tax in alignment with governance directives. The SOP is a process optimization document and a governance tool. As a process document, SOP outlines the steps to perform any tax. It stipulates the rules, but as a governance tool, it stipulates the rules that must be observed in performing those tasks. The SOP provides structured, objective, and consistent standards for operational execution and decision making. Apart beside that, SOP captures institutional memory. We are discussing out there the very fact of just saying that, oh, some people are very important staffs, and when they leave, the system collapses. That is a very sign of a weak organization. When the performance of the organization over the years is anchored, dependent on just one individual. After 4 years, people graduate and earn degrees. So, it is expected that after 4 years, a director would have trained somebody. Any officer would have mentored 2-3 persons that in his absence, can still do that work. So, that is not an argument at all. It is an argument that kills organization. Because when I know that, look, I am key, if I don't onboarding, if I don't transfer skills, then I will continue here forever. Then nothing will make me teach any person. Nothing will make me transfer knowledge. But when we know, as we have said, that look, after 4 years, you move. Such a staff that has been in a position for several years, 10 years, 20 years, it's not beneficial to the system and not also doing himself any good. And not doing himself any good. The institutional memory and competencies and knowledge should be domiciled in records, in the system, so that the system train all of us. Some of us, the competence we pride ourselves of are the competencies we learned from others, from all the people, management committees who passed through. My first memo was to, to Harrison Onwo, my first director. He threw it on my face. ask him, what did you read? I said, I read literature and English. Through it, I might say, here, we don't write literature here. We write memo. So, I now started writing until I could do a memo to Dr. Princewill, and Dr. Princewill will look at it and say, the law is okay. I say it's okay, and he will sign, and he won't regret signing. So, I didn't come to NDDC with that. I learned it. So, why can't we domicile this knowledge and expertise in the system? That's what XOP does for us. The organization becomes the repository of knowledge and not individual staff that can drop dead tomorrow, that can retire tomorrow, that can be hospitalized for a long. Please, can you help me? Now, without SOP, governance remains abstract, subjective, and whimsical. The deputy just said it now, that strategy without operationalization will be nothing. If we have a strategy, what makes a strategy or policy useful to an organization is operationalization at the unit level, at the front level, through the SOP that takes up this strategy or policy and breaks it down into step-by-step guideline on how to achieve it. So, on the other hand, without governance, SOP will lack force, purpose, and performance will be inconsistent, costly, inefficient, and difficult to measure. That's the relationship. If we have SOP without rules, without enforcement standard, without objective rules to say, oh, look, you must do this, then it becomes advisory. Nobody will obey it. It will lack force. It will not be implemented. Performance will be unstable, depending on who is in office. And we will not be able to measure our outcomes. That's the interaction between SOP and governance. So, the purpose of governance and SOP is performance. The purpose of governance and SOP is performance. And what is performance? Performance is result, objective result, sustainable result, not result that is dependent on who is in the office. Result that is measurable. And results that we can measure, in comparison with the transactional cost of achieving that result. Because if we achieve a project of, say, 100 million, but the transactional cost, all the papers and ink we have spent on that project is 300 million. Have we performed? No, we have not performed. We have not attained any useful result. The performance cannot be what we will be afraid of. All right, next slide, please. Now, how does SOP strengthen performance, strengthen governance? Let me see the previous slides, please. Mix something. Fine. The standard operating procedure. Yes, go, the next one. Now, how does SOP strengthen governance? One way the SOP strengthens governance is through enforcement of policy. It enforces implementation of policy. The SOP strengthens governance by providing the objective, practical, operational tools to implement the policies and control strategies developed by governance policies. The SOP translates abstract, broad strategies and policies into actionable, implementable steps that anyone can follow to achieve results. A policy, for instance, to acquire right of way for projects is one of our policies. Such a policy, we say, oh, for us to acquire right of way to do any project, we'll acquire right of way for that project. That is just that. If a new person comes into office, how does he go about this? Without an SOP, he becomes a novice and begins to ask questions, how do we do it? How do people do it? But with an SOP, He can just look at what the SOP provides and can deliver with minimal correction. So, such a policy with SOP is going to let us know the step to follow to identify the land requirements, procure ESV consultants, engage stakeholders, negotiate with affected parties, pay adequate compensation, obtain indemnity and legal clearance, and documentation for audit trails to ensure that the policy is consistently applied. So, accountability, clarity of roles and responsibilities, the RESI matrix. Like Group 6 just discussed that. SOP provides clarity of rules and responsibilities. In the NDDC SOPs, we have what we call the RESI matrix, which is an accountability matrix. Arodia means responsible. Who is responsible for actually doing the task, for actually writing the memo? C means consulted. Who needs to be consulted? This is the expert, the person with expert knowledge that will supply information to guide the person that is doing the work. Now, A there means accountable. Accountable means the person with ultimate decision making. Ultimate decision making. The buck ends on his table. Why I means informed. Yes, this person has nothing to do here, but he just needs to be informed to know that, look, this is what is happening. And that is very key. Most time in organizations, our directorate, people complain they don't know what is happening. That is the essence of minuting some document to some officers. Yes, when a document is minuted to you, we know that you may not be the person that will do the hands-on job. When you minute to the next like a DD, it's just for him to be informed that, look, this is going on, why people are doing it. This is the accountability matrix. And this is very, very important because where there are no responsibility matrix, some roles may get overlooked. Some roles may get overlooked. And we said that a goat that has no owner always dies of starvation. So, SOP makes roles and responsibilities clear. There are assigned owners of every directorate function. Meanwhile, in every directorate function, the director is accountable. The job, the buck ends on your table. It doesn't matter who is doing it. It doesn't matter what is happening, any person is doing there. You are accountable to management on everything concerning your directorate. It eliminates confusion, strengthens accountability, and prevents critical roles from being overlooked. Next slide. Now, regulatory compliance. Corporations like NDDC are highly regulated. And regulatory violation or non-compliance could be devastating and cripple operations. So, the SOP helps us to identify the things that are our regulatory obligations and ensure, assign timelines to ensure that this regulatory compliance are enforced, are obeyed, to avoid coming to bribe any person for what is within us to do. Most times we have auditors, they come and ask questions. It's true that they will always find something. But often, some of the things we are queried are things that if there is a system of proper audit and accountability, the officer that failed to do that will be surcharged because it was his failing that caused the organization that cost. So the SOP helps us to avoid this. Risk management is one other function, one other factor, one other benefit of having an SOP. SOPs embed risk mitigation into daily operations. For instance, SOP for payment processing will help to outline mandatory verification steps, dual controls and escalation pathways to operationalize Commission's financial risk controls. Effective risk management will include the following: identification of risk, prioritization of risk, the control measures to monitor that risk, to manage that risk, monitoring that risk and reporting it, tracking the risk indicators and reporting same to management. All these are contained in our SOP. Every directorate operation, has a provision for risk indicators and risk monitoring and risk reporting. Now, it is not a bad thing to make mistake for something to happen. But no organization improves where there is no transparent reporting of our errors, of our mistakes, learning from it and ensuring that it doesn't happen again. And this is done at the operational level, at the directorate level. Risk management should be at that operational level, not at the global NDDC level. All right, the next slide. Now, create an audit trail. Documented processes provide a baseline for internal audit. Deviations from SOP can be identified, investigated, and corrected, while inefficient procedures can be noted, reviewed, thereby strengthening internal controls and transparency. So, SOP leaves an audit trail. We will see, this is what you are supposed to do. Did you do it? Why did you jump it? Why did you jump it? You jumped it yesterday, you jumped it now. So, it helps us to have an audit trail. The next slide. SOP and performance discipline. SOP set key performance standards with key performance indicators and form the basis for performance appraisals and evaluation. This guides employees to know whether or not they are performing within expectation, provide opportunity for performance improvement, and an objective criterion for rewards and punishment. The HRA SOP, for instance, provides a protocol to operationalize the performance management framework as mandated by the federal government in the PSR. Now, adherence to the SOP is linked to employee performance management. There is reward and discipline for compliance. In all our SOPs, we have key performance indicators for every unit, for every director, for every officer, for every task. This becomes our benchmark to evaluate performance and reward staff. SOP also reduces error and variability. The use of SOP will minimize unpredictable outcomes, ensure high quality, consistency, and reliability. SOP eliminates trial and error. It saves time and resources. Sometimes officers may not know how to go through a job, a function. Number one, they will delay time thinking how to figure it out. But while there are clear procedures, they simply follow it. It saves time and saves the amount of document and ink we will spend in doing that. All right, the next slide. Effective training and onboarding. SOP is the ultimate tool for employee to become proficient, efficient, and provide vital fundamental knowledge for everyone. Reducing dependency on tribal knowledge. Now, what is tribal knowledge? Tribal knowledge is undocumented, informal information, skills and unwritten rules, known only by a group or select individuals within an organization, rather than being a common knowledge in the system. And that's what we have. You know, we would say, oh, this one, if you remove him, the system has collapsed. That's because we have built tribal knowledge. If that knowledge is within the system, then the system cannot collapse. It is important that that knowledge was gained from our trainings and exposure. So why would the person be the only person that should have it? So we must ensure that we do not encourage tribal knowledge. We must put systems in place to ensure that the organization retains the knowledge and become the repository of every competence. Continuous improvement. We cannot improve what you have not documented. Over the years, there is no objective trail of our process improvement because of undocumented processes and procedures. Directors come to office and make great contributions, but they leave with the lessons learned. They leave with the lessons learned and leave the organization empty. Handover notes are not written anymore. And when handover notes are given, they are void of any empowering information. But with SOP, all of that will be solved because there is requirement for such documentations. There is requirement for such documentation so that when you leave, the person coming up can leverage on, the system can leverage on the experiences you have gained running this place. That's what SOP does for us. All right, next slide. It appears that it's not, it didn't put the slide I said it should put. It didn't put my slide. You're using a draft, an earlier draft. All right, return. All right. Effective training and onboarding, continuous improvement, fine, up there. Performance discipline. But a standardized SOP with emphasis on documentation and report serves as a baseline. When performance issues or better methods are found, this SOP is updated. And this creates a cycle of standardize, measure, improve, and re-standardize. It also helps scalability. Directors and officers can delegate functions without being afraid of whether the person can do it well or not. Up. Next slide. The role of executive management in strengthening governance and performance discipline in the commission. The SOP is a management tool. The directors of NDDC are responsible for enforcing compliance and improving the provisions of the SOP to sustain institutional performance and discipline. Good and detailed as the NDDC SOP is said to be, it is not a perfect document, but it is a living document and contains provisions for review and amendment of whatever we want to change. Please check in that your system and see the topic, overview of NDDC SOP. It's not here. You screened a different document. That's not what I gave you. So, it is a management tool for improving the provisions of SOP. They are responsible for improving the performance of the organization. Now, we have done the SOP in such a way that it is reviewable. It is not cast in stone. It is to be reviewed every 2 years. But if tomorrow, upon launch, we discover a process that is not optimal, that requires, change, if we discover that changes in regulation has changed, then we can develop a new process, sends it to management, who will approve, and it becomes part of the process. Now, the SOP made certain provisions. There are some innovations in the SOP. One of those innovations is the provision for a process compliance officer. This is a directorate-level officer to be appointed by the director, who will ensure observance and enforcement of the SOP in the directorate. So, this person, together with the director, and every officer of the directorate ensures that the SOP is implemented and observed. Now, the executive management role will consist in continuing to emphasize governance and rule-based management at all levels, speedily calling to order directors that are slack in enforcing the SOP with observance of the SOP in the directorate, and approve training on SOP, governance policies, and process optimization. But there is another way the commission, the executive management, can contribute in ensuring that SOP and governance is instituted in the system. That is by shunning, by closing ranks. The executive management will have to close ranks and shun violators of corporate policies, of organizational policies, who will usually try to play the ethnic cards or come with the victim cry. This is very, very important. If the executive management closes ranks, then it will be difficult, for these things to happen. It will be difficult for this to happen. In this way, management will ensure that the SOP functions as a living governance instrument for efficient performance rather than a static, on-the-shelf administrative manual. Next. Governance policies, rules, and SOPs help to build strong institutions for long, stability, objective and consistent policies and impersonal rules that protect against abuse of office while providing transparency and accountability. The SOP is not just an administrative tool. It is a strategic governance instrument that ensures accountability, transparency, and sustainable performance in the Commission. Strengthening SOP compliance across directorates will enhance expenditure discipline, performance outcomes, and enforce public confidence in the Commission's operations. Next. A sustained commitment by executive management to governance and rule-based leadership and compliance is therefore critical to embedding SOPs as a living instrument of governance for organizational excellence and performance discipline. The SOP as the operational engine for corporate governance and a bridge to high organizational performance discipline and resilience will transition abstract broad policies into routine and improvable processes to be governed or controlled effectively or perform reliably and be positioned to meet the demands of NDDC of the future. The Commission will embrace the culture of creating, enforcing, and continually improving our SOP. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Question. What you have by the other side is samples of the SOP. Was not well. Names of the directorate are there. Sorry. You have snipers of the SOP there. By the corner there, it was not well positioned. But we can take questions on that. One of the points that was missed all right. Now, one of the points I was looking, a slide I was looking for was not there, is an overview of the SOP. Now, SOP, the current SOP has made a lot of innovations. One of the innovations is the inclusion of an accountability matrix, the provision of an SOP, the provisions of SLAs for every tax. Now, every directorate function has a service level agreement, and that is, how long does it take you to produce this memo? If there is a request to a directorate, how long will it take for that directorate, to supply, to deliver it? These are some of the things we're expecting. In the SOP, we expect to see our functions broadened. There are many directorates that thought that they don't have enough function. But through the SOP, they saw that what they actually need is more hands and not more activities. That's what we're going to see. In the SOP 2, there are a lot of governance provisions. We made provision for what we call program governance. Going forward, upon deployment of this SOP, we cannot dump any kind of documents or programs on the management. programs are regulated. The provision, part of the provision, if you can screen that program governance for me, part of the provision is that if you are presenting any program to management that is not part of your work plan, your work plan or procurement plan, then it is an external program. If you get a program from outsiders, sponsorship programs are external programs. Those external programs will have to pass through a very rigorous procedure, to get them approved. The director presenting it must present it through a management memo, which will be presented to a program governance committee to be chaired by the MD CEO. And it will provide cogent reasons, objective reasons, why that project cannot wait to be included in your work plan or procurement plan. And such a program will have to be presented at least 4 months before the implementation date. Again, the group that is asking for that sponsorship must pay a certain percentage of that amount so that we won't have a situation where everything we do is just taking proposal from people and imposing on the commission. And once that is happened, they call and we say, oh, my document is with director. And director will begin to run up and down. Oh, I forwarded it to MD. And they begin to call MD and the executive management and begin to put pressure on them. Now, again, part of the innovations is provision of ample internal controls. We discover in the course of this work that our digital documents are not audited because audit is not on the digital platform. The final upload in the remitter platform is not seen by audit. And what it means is that final payment is made without audit oversight. That is not proper. So, what we see in the deployment of the SOP is that every final payment on the remitter platform must be audited, must be overseen by internal audits, because the digital platform is also a paper, and that is going to happen. We also made provisions in the SOP for mandatory EIA, environmental impact assessment and social impact assessment, to the effect that if we are not doing EIA, then somebody must give a certification that EIA is not necessary. And that will be one of the mandatory documents that finance and audit will see before they process any document, for payment. We've talked about the process compliance officer. We've talked about documentation. Now, the SOP is key on documentation. We don't have records in the system. We don't keep records. Thanks to the digitalization of our process, that will help. But what will be on the digital platform is what we have created, the report we have created. So we've made it mandatory that every process, every function must have a report. And that report must have a hard copy and a digital copy to ensure that there are auditable records, objective records of what we have done that is traceable, and many more. I can now take your question. Sorry, the provision of some of the innovations are there, but I think, I don't know what happened. We missed it. Several innovations are there on the SOP. Maybe from questions, we can identify more. Yes, sir.
Once again, Obo Kingsley. Yeah, you talked about the mandatory nature of the EIAs. I don't know whether you considered emergency procurement in this aspect, where some projects are conceived to mitigate certain emergency situations. Thank you.
All right. Yes, we did. With the project directorate, we deliberated it. Even emergency does not prevent the doing of EIA. So even if it is emergency, emergency means that proper due process may not be followed, but it can be regularized. It can be regularized. It can be regularized. So, and we do not also expect that the projects that require EIA will be given under emergency. We do not expect, it is not envisaged, that a project that requires EIA should be given under emergency. So, if it is such a project that does not require EIA, a certification that EIA is not needed is sufficient. Yes.
Please, my name is Imabong Obiosio. You've talked about policies, you've talked about discipline, and many more. You've also mentioned accountability. I want to ask you a question about accountability mechanisms. What accountability mechanisms have you put in place to ensure a strict adherence to SOP across the directorate and the state officers? You know, putting disciplinary action in mind. And secondly, and how can we use SOPs to reduce project delays, cost overruns, and abandoned projects in the region? Thank you.
Thank you. In the SOP, you have made provision for a process compliance officer. This is a directing level staff that will be appointed by the director to ensure that officers, members of the directorate, follow the SOP. Now, the Corporate Governance Directorate is also there to come for periodic audit to ensure that SOP is followed. Where there are deviations or non-compliance, advice will be preferred. And when we discover that there is a consistent violation of it, report will be sent to executive management. That is one. The other one is that for accountability is that in the SOP, there is a responsibility matrix. Whatever that is not done, whatever that is to be done, has somebody accountable for it, has somebody responsible for it. So, it is that officer that will be held responsible. In the various directorates, the things to be done have been outlined. The things to be done has been outlined. We have proposed. You're talking of project delays. What are the factors that cause project delays? It's the fact that sometimes we award projects without scoping. But we have the opinion that after now, upon deployment, project scoping should be the first thing. After this assessment, and we'll come with the projects, we should scope these projects and have a repository where the projects that are scoped can be taken into our budget. Even if it's under emergency, we'll have a repository, an archive of scoped projects in all the states, state by state. We do needs analysis. Need analysis is one of the provisions. Need analysis is very key now. In all the states, we involve all the political stakeholders and do needs analysis. It should be needs analysis and project scoping actually should be January to December, all year round event. All year round event. Scoping these projects, and because that's where we'll have delays. When we have awarded before scoping, and we discover at the end of the day that after scoping, this project should be 500 million, but we have awarded it for 100 million. The processes of doing variations, the processes of going back and forth are some of the things that cause project delays. So it is expected that after now, all the project directorates, the people that are involved in needs analysis and project scoping and project directorates can take up their SOPs and begin to do this. One challenge we have on this issue of scoping is the point of whether the Procurement Act, whether the law, permits the scoping of a project that has not been awarded. That is a question that may be answered by the procurement department. But in my understanding, I know if we can spend money to do needs analysis, we can scope projects as part of the project and the needs analysis and have our project scoped before award. But I think it is clearer in the manuals. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Inzelo. I awarded you an honorary doctorate degree, a very cerebral presentation. My challenge is, in Nigeria, our challenge is not for the lack of laws or policies, but the enforcement. Beautiful thought out ideas, beautiful work done. But if after we have our very good management, executive management and board, tenure come to an end and they leave, another board comes and they say, we'll present this to them, these are our standard operating procedures. But they say, no, we don't want to do this. This is what we want to do. And some staff from our ranks go to these board members and tell them, Oga, it is doable. If that man does not want to do it, post him to Bokoda. If this one does not want to do it, make him redundant. And another who is positioned there allows it, closes his eyes to that which we have presented here. How do we then ensure that this document, which should be a living document, guide the system, becomes institutionalized when there is no bond among us to ensure that we keep it alive? Because it is the actors, the human beings, that ensure that policies live and not the policies themselves. Thank you.
Well, that's a legitimate concern. But first, there is nothing in the SOP that stops any management from achieving its objective. There is nothing about the SOP that stops any management from achieving its aims. Now, the SOP is going to be a board policy document. If it is to be changed, then it should follow due process and be changed. Until it is changed, it remains in force. But then I have said that the enforcement, the responsibility to operationalize this is the responsibility of all of us, of every director. Executive management come and go, but we remain. Thankfully, and why we are on speed, is that we expect that the practice, the use of the SOP will be deepened, will be institutionalized before the end of the tenure of this regime. By the time all of us see the benefits of it in use, then nothing can change about it. Nobody can fight it. Nobody can fight it. When we see the usefulness, the functionality of it, and the fact that it does not stop any executive management from achieving its goals. Anyone more?
Enzelo, let me just help you, because the question he asks is very, very germane. But you see, my advice to all of us is the document is going to be called the rule book. So many agencies, both private and public sector, they have their SOPs which become the rule book. And the rule book is what guides the operations of every organization. And the danger of it, based on the question he asked, you know, laws are everywhere, but not until the law is tested. If the law is tested, that is when you know whether you can go to jail or not. Many of us will take certain laws for granted. And sometimes we break the laws because no one has ever tested that law by challenging you. So you think it is a norm. But if we continue with this attitude, now this document has been passed by the board. Since it has been passed by the board, it now becomes a policy document. Now, NDDC over the years have been ruled by the extant rules and the act. Now, most times you're being challenged by public service rules, you've defaulted on this. Extant rules, you defaulted on this. the act doesn't say so. Why did you do this? But now, with all of this, it is going to be summarized by this rule book. Now, if having adopted this rule book and it goes into operation and we choose to abandon it and we start doing things the old way, what is going to happen? The day anti-graft agencies come, that is what they will use to challenge your action. That is one thing we should know. It's very, very dangerous. So you must adhere to those rule books. Because if they come, they will not come and say, the Constitution of Nigeria said this. The Act of NDDC said this. They will start with the rule book. This thing that you did, are you supposed to do it? What does your rule book say? And if it falters, in fact, this rule book now simplifies their job. So I just want everybody to understand that we are in for a serious business. So if it says before a project should be awarded, these are the processes that should take place, and you fail as the person in charge of that, somebody may not say anything today, but tomorrow if there is an issue and that project is being looked into, that issue will arise and you might not even have anything to say. You wouldn't have an excuse. So let us not leave this place with this impression that what if 2-3 people gang up and say it shouldn't be this, it shouldn't be that. This is more powerful than the people. This is more powerful than the individual. And the rule book also stipulates the number of years that is given for it to be amended. So if even a new board comes, that new board cannot just immediately, automatically go and amend the rule book. So that is what you have there. So I want all of us to understand this and have it at the back of our mind, that once it goes into operations, you must adhere to it strictly for your own good. Not for my own good. Even me that is the MD too, I must adhere to it strictly for my own good, because it shortens every process of investigation. Nobody will be looking at bring voucher, it simplifies the whole process. Did you take this step before achieving this? If yes, then you're good. It even makes it easier for external auditors that are coming to audit us based on the rule book. As much as they are looking at other things, they will also look at your rule book. Initially, you didn't have. So people now depend on constitution and other rules, extant rules. So this now makes it easier because it now regulates you internally and externally. So let us take it seriously. I just decided to say something because of the question Mr. Foley asked, to let all of us know that it is not an issue of 2 persons, 3 persons conspiring to undermine the rule book. You might undermine it and succeed, but pray an issue does not arise tomorrow. If an issue arises tomorrow, you will not be able to get out of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MD CEO. I think that was the best way to wrap up this session. And thank you. Let's put our hands together for Barrister Stephen Izelaw for his presentation on strengthening governance, performance, discipline through standard operating procedures. He emphasized on strong leadership as to be championed not just by the executive management, but all management staff. He also harped on drawing from lessons of the past and the importance of monitoring and evaluation. Thank you so much for looking at the SOP and the many questions that it answers and how it strengthens institutions. With that, we have come to the end of day 1 of this NDDC Management Retreat on strengthening performance and repositioning the Commission for strategic impact in 2026. As we close this session and proceed for late lunch or early dinner, however you call it, we'll proceed in the same order that we proceeded for breakfast. The MD CEO, the EDFA, the EDCS, and our resource persons will first go to our improvised dining hall, and then the rest of the management committee directors will be called to go to their tables accordingly. Thank you so much for today. Thank you. We had a very beautiful session. Tomorrow begins bright and early. So please be here for tomorrow's session so we can consolidate truly on performance and reposition the Commission for strategic impact this year. Thank you so much. MDCO will now lead the executive directors and our resource persons for, like I said, late lunch, early dinner. Thank you so very much.
Packing my bags that I didn't unpack the last time. I'm saying see you again so many times, it's becoming my tagline. But you know the truth, I'd rather hold you than try to catch this flight. So many things I'd rather say, but for now it's goodbye.
Please, if you have misplaced your key, contact Mr. Joe Cole so you can properly identify your key.